What secret could ruin your entire life? I grew up in a very strict and religious household, so my world came completely crashing down when I was 14 and realized I was gay. I thought it would just go away, but I eventually realized it wouldn't. It took me 6 years and a ton of alcohol to finally sum up the courage to tell my parents. When I finally did, their reaction didn't surprise me. We had a big family gathering the next day, so I thought if I told them now, they'd have to pretend to like me and maybe even start to accept me. It didn't go like that at all. I could see the disappointment, and they both were a mix of denial and anger. They made me sleep outside that night, saying I was just confused. It was freezing, but halfway through the night, my mom came out and told me I could come back inside if I agreed to go to conversion camp. My parents meant everything to me, so I agreed. My first day there, I met a girl from my town who was in the same position. We spent the whole night coming up with our plan. I introduced her to my parents as my girlfriend, and my dad shook my hand saying he knew I'd come around. They welcomed me back to the family, and even though I'm now married, we've still been pretending that we're together. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up.
What's the biggest secret you're currently hiding? I secretly made my boyfriend famous on Twitch. He always dreamed of being a big streamer and tried for years. He would sit in front of his computer for hours, streaming usually to only 1 or 2 people. Eventually, he started to lose hope and even talked about quitting. Hearing that crushed me, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. After he told me he was going to stream, I went into another room and made fake Twitch accounts and started joining his stream on different devices. It warmed my heart seeing how excited he got when his view count finally hit 5 people. I started joining on more devices and had to start borrowing some from my parents when I needed more. I even made them chat with each other to make it seem legit. I'd often give him compliments on his insecurities, and I could see him start to build up his confidence and be more outgoing. It got to a point where he'd have around 20 viewers, 15 of them being me. But soon more people started joining, and his fans started growing even more. Eventually, I didn't have to join at all for him to hit a new personal record that day. Fast forward 2 years, and my boyfriend is now one of the biggest streamers with over 3 million followers. I've never told anyone this. I'll take it to the grave.
What's a horrible gut feeling you've had that turned out to be true? When I was about 10 or 11, we were all sitting at the table when we got a knock at the door. My dad reluctantly got up to answer, and after a few seconds, I could hear it was a salesman. We heard my dad politely decline whatever he was trying to sell us, but it wasn't working. He just kept trying to give him his sales spiel, as my dad tried to tell him he wasn't interested. We were all a little offset as he repeatedly cut my dad off and even tried to invite himself inside our house. At this point, my dad, who is usually very good at keeping his cool, starts telling him he needs to leave. My older brother, who was also a lot bigger than him, comes in, and they manage to get him to leave and move on to the next house. My dad, frustrated by this, decided to call our neighbors to warn them not to answer the door. The young girl next door answered the phone and told him she was home alone, so my dad told her not to answer the door whatsoever. A few months later, the salesman turned out to be a serial killer targeting young girls home by themselves and was posing as a salesman. So I guess my dad did the right thing by warning her.